Update 2. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Link to the first part of this saga in the description. Now for the second update. Many people ask me for an update, and I also need some outsider perspectives in my situation, so here it goes. Before I start, I want to clarify something for the people who kept calling me names for telling my sister-in-law the truth. Why do you think I should have minded my own business? She's family, and if family doesn't look out for each other, then who else will? Strangers? This isn't just some harmless or small lie for my brother-in-law, it's life-changing. My sister-in-law isn't just my sister-in-law, she's my friend. If I hadn't told her the truth, my POS brother-in-law would have just kept cheating, and I would have lost a friend if I had delayed any longer. Now for the update. My sister-in-law only stayed at my place for 2 days. After that, she called me and said she didn't want to trouble me anymore and was going to stay at a hotel. I tried to convince her not to waste her money unnecessarily, but she didn't listen and left anyway. And yes, I am divorcing my wife. After a week of no contact, she called me and said she wanted to reconcile. She told me she was angry that I didn't listen to her and went behind her back. She said she didn't want to break her sister's family and had planned to convince my brother-in-law to stop cheating. But she claimed I had messed everything up. She said she was coming back. I told her to come over because I wanted to talk to her in person. This isn't the kind of thing you discuss over the phone. When my wife arrived and started explaining herself, I told her I was filing for divorce. She was shocked and said we could make it work. I told her we couldn't. I said, I don't trust you after everything you said, and you left me with no contact. I was worried all day about where you were, if you were safe, etc., and now you suddenly show up? I can't make it work. She tried to convince me not to go through with a divorce, but I had already made up my mind. I told her that her sister had stayed at our place for 2 days, and she got angry, saying, fine, let's divorce, and left. I told my sister-in-law that I'm getting a divorce. She wasn't happy about it, but she didn't try to convince me one way or the other. I also told her she could stay with me instead of wasting money on a hotel. She said it was inappropriate, but I told her, either you waste your money and struggle or you can accept my help. So, my sister-in-law and I have been living together for the past couple of days. We've discussed our spouses and their behavior, and we're both pretty angry about everything. My sister-in-law is even angrier than I am. She ended up calling my wife, calling her names, and told me she's hell-bent on ruining my brother-in-law. She is divorcing him and plans to go nuclear. She wants as much money as possible in alimony and child support. She wants to drain him. My wife and I haven't spoken since she left, and we both know the divorce is happening. My sister-in-law, though still angry, has started to calm down because it's unhealthy for her and the baby. She's now focusing on her career and reading stories about single moms. She's preparing herself. So that's all for now. And to the weirdos out there, stay away. Neither my sister-in-law nor I have any romantic feelings for each other. I'm just helping her because she needed support, which is why she hesitated so much in accepting my help. Call me a moral police if you want, but I know I did the right thing, not just for my sister-in-law but for myself as well. Now I know exactly what kind of woman my wife is. Did your wife ever tell you where she went? I find it interesting that she has a place where she can just go for an extended period of time and nobody knows where she went to. She went to the guy who she was having an affair with. He did not want anything serious, hence why she came back. Smart to divorce this woman. I don't know, and I don't care. I had mixed feelings. I love my wife and tried to stop her from leaving. Tried to convince her, but she left anyway. Well, I was worried all day every day about my wife, wondering where she was, if she was safe, if she had eaten. She never contacted me after she left, and her family didn't know where she was either. But no matter how much I love her, it's better if I just divorce her. I've lost all trust in her, not just because she wanted to hide my brother-in-law's cheating, but also because she said she would expect me to forgive her if she cheated and that she would forgive me if I cheated. I don't want that. None of this. Besides, if a pregnant woman can put her emotions aside, think for herself and take steps to move forward, then I should do the same. I need to cut out the toxicity and restart my life instead of constantly worrying. In a way, she kind of inspired me. I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Not the a-hole, but please get support from whoever you can and continue providing support to your sister-in-law. Wishing you the best going forward. Thanks. I got my parents' support, but they won't pick sides. After all, we both are their children and we are fighting, which is understandable. My mom calls me every day at least thrice to check up on me. Me and my sister-in-law support each other and talk a lot. I am in pain, but her pain is unimaginable. She's pregnant and found out her baby's father is a cheat, also low on money and ashamed to seek help. Yes, she's no longer my sister-in-law, but my friend. I'll try my best to support her. Though she's so much in pain, she's thinking about herself and her child. Women are truly strong, especially when they are pregnant indeed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my not terrible marriage because being a step-family just isn't working? My husband, 40 male, was a widower when we met. I, 36 female, was a single woman who had never been married before. My husband has a daughter, April 13, from his first wife. April was 5 when her mom died, 7 when my husband and I met, 8 when she and I met, and 11 when we got married. Things with April were okay before I got pregnant. And by okay, I mean we weren't very close. She didn't call me mom or say she loved me, but we got along well. And she said she had no issues with us getting married. She was even in the wedding as her dad's best person. All was good. Then I got pregnant with our son, who is now 4 months old, and everything changed. She was furious when she found out we were expecting. She told us she would not be okay with it, and asked her dad how he could do that to her and her mom. From that moment on, she became hostile toward me, very angry, and lashed out at me, my husband, and anyone who tried to say she was going to be a big sister or referred to our son as her little brother. We got her into therapy and even did family therapy. April refused to speak. We tried to find a therapist who would click with her, but she still wouldn't talk. Eventually, we found a therapist who got her to speak one time, but she only said she didn't want to work with us or make things better. She refused to say why or answer any questions the therapist asked. She didn't address it with her individual therapist either. They worked on other issues instead, but that hasn't been enough to help her come around. People said that once our son was born, once she saw him, she'd fall in love with him and go back to how she was before. That hasn't happened. She's aggressively against anything to do with him. She has never held him, and we don't have any family photos of the 4 of us together. It breaks my husband's heart. He has talked to her and disciplined her, but it hasn't made a difference. She screams that he's not her brother, and even refuses to call him her half-brother, saying he's not my sibling at all. I can't speak to her at all now. The nice relationship we had is gone, and that makes me sad too. The situation isn't working, and our home no longer feels like a home. It feels like a house on the verge of collapse. I'm not sure I want to stay married and continue trying to figure this out for another 5 years. I don't see any hope for it to get better, and even though my son will still have to be around, maybe having 50% of the time in a loving home would be better. I'd be happier, even though I love my husband. When I confided in a friend, she told me I can't give up this quickly and that I'm not giving it enough time to get better. Am I the a-hole? People said that once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and go back to how she'd been before. I just have to ask, who the hell were these delusional people? Look at him and fall in love. Really? That's something you say to a nervous, soon-to-be parent. These people couldn't have had any real experience with this kind of situation. It rarely happens that older siblings, especially those who are vehemently opposed to the baby and want nothing to do with them, suddenly flip a switch just because they see the new kid. They don't look at the baby and think, "Aw, how cute, I love them so much." They look at the baby and think, "This is the drooling, puking crap monster that's turning my world upside down." Not just that, but she won't be the only little queen bee anymore. My older sister threw me out of the window as a baby and tried to harm me all throughout my childhood. Be careful. No judgment, but I'd be concerned about your son being with her during your husband's custody time with him if you divorce. Just something to consider since she is part of the household. And honestly, it sounds as if you would be giving her what she wants, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to prioritize our family tradition over his new friendship? My husband, 35 male, and I, 32 female, have a small but meaningful tradition we started during the first year of our marriage. It's nothing major, but it's important to me. Every November, on the weekend before Thanksgiving, we take a day trip to a lakeside town about an hour away. We spend the day walking, talking, and picking out a new ornament for our Christmas tree, something meaningful to our year. It's just one day, but it's one of those things that makes the holiday season special for us. Recently, my husband became great friends with a guy from his gym. They hit it off quickly, and I think it's great because my husband doesn't make new friends easily. His friend seems like a genuinely nice person and shares a lot of my husband's interests, like hiking and gaming. I know it's refreshing for my husband to have someone he clicks with so well. Here's the issue. My husband's friend invited him on a weekend trip during the exact same weekend as our tradition. My husband seemed hesitant to bring it up at first, but eventually he asked if I'd be okay with rescheduling our tradition to another weekend so he could go with his friend. I was caught off guard and told him it kind of hurt my feelings that he'd even consider moving it. He told me it wasn't a big deal for us to just go another weekend, and it's right in the sense that it wouldn't really affect anything logistically. But this trip has always felt like our thing. It's not that I don't want him to have fun or make new friends, but I feel like he's minimizing something that's special to us, or at least special to me. When I told him that, he looked surprised and then frustrated, saying I was overreacting. He eventually agreed to keep the weekend for our tradition, but I could tell he was disappointed, and I feel guilty about that. Part of me wonders if I'm being stubborn about a little ritual that maybe only I care about as much as I do. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to prioritize our tradition over his new friend? Edit. I saw some people asking how long we've been married. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been doing this tradition since our first year together. Always on the same weekend. A lot of people have asked why this specific weekend matters so much to me. I think it's because we've kept this tradition on the same weekend for over 6 years, and for me, the timing feels like an integral part of the tradition itself. It's become a marker for the start of the holiday season in my mind, and changing it feels like it would lose some of the meaning behind it. Info. While I think it's super nice your husband made a friend, he's currently blinded by the honeymoon phase of friendship. Does he actually enjoy the trip, or is he doing it because he wants to do it? He's kept the weekend open every year without me having to remind him, and we always have a great time. That said, he hasn't explicitly said how important it is to him or how much he enjoys it. I've expressed to him how much it means to me though, so I'm guessing it may feel more significant to me than it does to him. That's part of why I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I've been assuming we were on the same page about it being our thing without ever checking in with him about how he feels. I don't see how changing the weekend you go will change the tradition though. To some people, changing weekends is fine. Others need to celebrate on certain days. My wife's father's side does Thanksgiving a week early every year so everyone can make time for their other family on Thanksgiving. I know others that get upset if you try to celebrate their birthday on the closest weekend rather than the actual date. Update after a few hours. I want to thank everyone who shared their opinions. After reading the comments and giving myself some time to reflect, I decided to talk to my husband again. I told him I felt bad about how things went earlier and that I didn't mean to make him feel like I'm keeping him on a leash. I also explained why our little tradition feels so special to me and how I've always seen that weekend as our weekend. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much it meant to me. He said he'd been excited about the trip with his friend because it was the first time in a long while that someone had reached out to him like that, and he didn't want to let that slip away. We both agreed that we could have handled the conversation better, and that neither of us wanted the other to feel like their feelings didn't matter. As mentioned earlier, we've decided to stick to our tradition this year as planned, and my husband is going to plan a weekend trip with his friend in January after the holidays are over. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to have her birthday party in my house? My husband, 26 male, and I, 24 female, recently bought our first home, and we've worked incredibly hard to get here. We don't come from money, and everything we have, we've earned ourselves. We are very close to my side of the family and see them nearly every day. I've always kind of been the black sheep of the family because I'm the only one who has set boundaries. Anyway, a week after my husband and I moved in, my sister, 26 female, sent me an invitation to her birthday party, which she planned to hold at our new house. I want to note that she had briefly asked me about hosting the party here a few days earlier, and I told her I wasn't sure because we still had a lot of unpacking to do. Clearly, that wasn't a concern for her, as she went ahead and sent out the invitation days later, inviting extended family who live several hours away and would need to stay a night or two. Since we're still settling in, we don't have extra beds or much furniture yet. And my husband and I didn't feel ready to host what felt like a large gathering so soon, especially since we haven't even planned a housewarming party yet. Both of us work full-time and have limited time to unpack, so things are moving slowly. I told my sister that we'd be open to having a smaller, more intimate celebration, just immediate family and maybe one or two close friends. I also explained that this move has been a huge transition for me, and I'm still getting used to the new city and lifestyle. While I wanted to celebrate her, I didn't feel ready for a big party. After that, she stopped responding to me. The next day, I went to my parents' house during my lunch break and my dad came outside to tell me that they didn't want to see me. He said I was being selfish for turning down my sister's request and that I had hurt the whole family. Now my family refuses to speak to me until I apologize. And they've called me ungrateful and a narcissist. I don't know if I was in the wrong, if I made a big deal out of it, or if I unintentionally hurt my family. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No wonder you've had to set boundaries with your family. It's utterly ridiculous that they feel like she's entitled to your space like this. You'd best contact those extended family members before they make travel arrangements, because it doesn't sound like she's going to. Or at best, she'll tell them it's canceled and it's all your fault, so you look terrible. The entire family seems like they're a-holes, to be honest. Who in their right mind demands someone's house for their own private celebration, then badmouth to everyone? What a nightmare. Not the a-hole. You never said yes. You said that you would have to think about it. Your sister is the one who jumped the gun and started planning and inviting people. I don't understand your dad's comments about you hurting the whole family. That makes no sense. Definitely don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Would not be surprised at all if the parents were the origin of, "Our place is too small for that. Why not at your sister's new place? You can have your big party over there."